my experience is that my master's degree in the 70s was in public administration with international government and policy as part of it. And I wrote my master's thesis in a true Maoist form of the destruction of the bureaucracy. Literally, how we're going to disassemble the bureaucracy. And I used food co-ops and recycling centers as examples where people were taking things in their own hand and taking their own services. Now, I went and had children, and so I had to go get a real job. And the real job I finally got was to be a head of garbage for Fresno County. And I was the only guy. I had half a secretary burning landfills. And when I tell you this because in the last 40 years, we have written the rules on waste management. It started off with waste management, then it became, first it was solid waste management, then it became waste management, then we fought and we got our nose under the tent, the captain gets his nose under the tent, and it was integrated waste management. And now we want to say zero waste management. That's where we're learning as we go. The second job, big job, was San Diego County again. And when I walked in the door, the board supervisor said, reduce the amount of waste in the landfill by 30%, do it in 4 years. I said, well, 3.5 million tons a year, give me $1 a ton, I can do it. They did. And we did. We dropped it from 3.5 to 1.2, and we did it with mandatory recycling. So my speech is about rules. I can get your city to 80%. This is what I put on my consulting contracts. If you will just listen to me and pass 5 rules. I mean, what it's all about internationally, everywhere we go, from Penang on, it was like people upset about their local governments making bad decisions. So what it's about? It's about democracy, isn't it? That's political science. Okay, so it's about how people engage in the social contract to govern themselves. And this is the history of garbage, the history of recycling in the world, dating back to the Bible, or actually Hammurabi and the city of Ur talks about what you have to do if you're going to live together in society. Okay, so I have 5 new rules. Okay, and I think the first one is called require source separation. Require it. Don't just require the hauler to provide the service, because you're sabotaging it if you don't require the people to make the separation. Require separation. Across the board. Why not? If you're going to do it in your home, why should you do it at the job? Why should you do it at the mall? Across the board. And think about, in that requirement, highest and best use. That is, as we do the source separation, we're thinking of the highest and best use for the material. So number 1, require source separation. In San Diego County, we now have every city with a mandatory ordinance. And now the Public Works Director can add things into the blue bin as they become marketable and reduce the amount. So that's the number 1. Require source separation. Require it both on the hauler, the franchise to provide the service, and you as the public to make the separation. Second, half of what you throw out every day is organic. It's compostable. It's wood, it's yard material, it's food, it's soil. 50%. So, what is the problem with the city landfill? It leachates, puts leachate into the groundwater, it puts methane gas in the air. Where does that come from, folks? It comes from the organics. Okay, so what are we worried about? High price of petrochemicals and be able to grow food and feed our people and our population, and yet we're burying our organics in the landfill. Really hit me in Sicily when I'm walking around with Paulo. He's a soil scientist. We're fighting incinerators. How's the soil here in Sicily, Paulo? Oh, it's crap. But you're burying your organics in the landfill. Imagine that if we just directed the organics away from the landfill into agriculture. First of all, you eliminate 50%, you eliminate the water, you eliminate the methane, and you've got material to grow food, to retain water, so you can feed your population when oil gets to, what, $500 a barrel? I don't know. But it's going to go that way. When they can't get the petrochemicals, they're going to have to go back and do composting. So our big campaign in San Diego is, and the problem is, of course, we don't have any infrastructure to do that. That is, the county won't take responsibility, the regional agency won't take responsibility. We are arguing at Zero Waste San Diego that one of those agencies have to do it. We have to be a wasting charge, and with that, we can start working with the ag departments and the water departments, because these are all the other agencies that have to be tied into it. It's all about bureaucracy. It's all about trying to make government work, and it's all about taking control of your life by getting involved. So organics out. Number 2. Number 3, up until just a couple of years ago, 1/3 of what's going into the landfill was construction and demolition debris. 1/3. The Great Recession of 2005, which is not over yet, is continued, and that is reduced. But the other thing that's happened in California is we have over 30 cities that require you, if you're going to build or you're going to take down, you have to pull a permit, and on that permit you are required to recycle and have a recycling plan, and they give you all the materials and information to show you how to do it. If you're a small scale guy, you realize there's metal, there's wood, there's rock that can be recovered. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay to put it in the landfill. In San Diego, eight of our cities have C&D ordinances, and most of our cities are way over 50% in terms of what they're doing. Essential to make the builders and the destroyers, the demolition, to do the proper thing. If you make them do it, they will. Number 4, what about that toxic stuff? How do you feel about that guy selling toxic material on, I'm just talking about batteries or fluorescent lights or pharmaceuticals, and not taking responsibility for where they go? You flush them down the toilet, they get in the water supply, is that good? No. Do we throw them in the landfill, it gets in the water supply, is that good? No. If you can't recycle it, and if you can't compost it, then you can't sell it. I would think in California, I'd pass a law that said anybody sells anything in California that's not recyclable or not compostable, they gotta take it back. They gotta take it back to the manufacturer. I'll give you an example. 6% of the landfill is baby diapers, okay? This is a product designed for the landfill? Come on, folks. So you put a surcharge on the box of baby diapers and you make everybody pay for it. That goes to the state gets the money to the hauler for a separate collection of baby diapers, and then they deliver them to Procter & Gamble and say, these are yours, take them back. I think, it's a joke, but it's not what I think, and we have take-back ordinances now in some cities. San Luis Obispo has been our laboratory, and what we realized that we were a solid waste authority with elected officials. Therefore, we are government, and we have the ability to make laws. So in San Luis Obispo, you must take back sharps at the pharmacy. You must take back pills at the pharmacy. You must take your batteries to the stores that sold it to you, the lights in the store that sold it to you. These are really requirements, so we can do that. If it's toxic, if it can't be recycled, if it can't be composted, then they have to take it back at the point of sale. And the beauty in Canada, they're actually saying they list it, and if you want to be listed on the Recycling Council of Ontario's list of take-back centers, you have to not only take it back, but you have to give it to the manufacturers. And this is how we get them to change. If they have to eat their stuff, they'll redesign it. The 5th one is preferential purchasing. The key is what Jim's saying all along, through cross pricing. City of Los Angeles, what's the $2 billion budget? It's a huge budget. They buy stuff. If they criteria says it has to be recyclable, it has to be repairable, that changes the whole environment and community. This is something you, as a member of this democracy, can ask your government, who's spending a lot of money. City of San Diego talked to Anna. They have a great preferential purchasing program, and they can show huge amounts of savings because of that. Finally, in closing, in San Diego, how do you make this happen? My daughter yelled at me because I just talked, and she said we have to organize. Zero Waste San Diego has a website, has a listserv. There's over 800 people on the listserv. Our 2 issues are, we want the organics out, we need to have a wasting tax to pay for it, and we want the city to go to pay-as-you-throw and collection. Watch us. We'll make it happen, and you can do it too. It's all about getting involved in your government. I don't think you have to wear a suit to go to city council anymore. I think you can mobilize email to these guys, and they do read it. Thanks a lot.